Hey everyone, Brian Von VA here, back at it again with another set of D&D stories. This time, we've got a doozy. DMs. What is the most beloved NPC you've ever run? What did you do that made your players love them? A personal and party favorite I ran was Marvin. Marvin was a hill giant who fancied himself a businessman. He had a stagecoach essentially lashed over his back like a backpack with a large rope, and had fashioned a bow tie of several skins and bits of cloth crudely stitched together. He was accompanied by his two ogre cohorts, this and that, who gave him credibility since any good businessman had employees. He also carried a small donkey because it came with the cart. Marvin would always strike up a deal with adventurers who approached him, insisting that he had something they would be interested in. With potential customers before him, he would sling his shop from his back and slam it onto the ground with sounds of clattering and clanking, as well as assorted barnyard animal sounds coming from within the wagon as it hit the ground. He would clutch about the interior with his large, meaty hand, and produce all manner of +5 weapons and armor that he had squeezed together from 5 swords himself as proof of their power. Jury is still out on if he can count that high. Or wonderful magical items not stolen from previous adventurers or merchants who sold them. I often stocked him with mostly junk, but would roll some fun lower-level magic items from time to time, and made him a wandering merchant of sorts that made the world fun and interesting. Feel free to steal and use at your leisure. But all I ask is that if you do, you lean real hard into that 5 intelligence. His encounters with the party were some of my faves. He sold a handful of uncommon items for a keg of ale and some pretty rocks ones. Also, fun as a fight if things go south and he is made fun of or notices being cheated, as he can reach into his wagon and throw whatever may be inside in a fit of anger. Somehow, it's usually sheep. There's a long list of contenders, but Dorr is clearly the group's favorite. Early in the campaign, the party met this NPC as a kind-faced animated door in a wizard's tower. As a trapped Dorr, he was sad that every friend he has ever met, i.e. the skeletons littered around him, was giving him the silent treatment. Unaccustomed to the concept of names, he happily accepted the moniker Dorr after a number of names were debated among party members. When the party disarmed his trap, he sadly noted that they probably didn't want to be his friend any longer. The party decided to adopt Dorr, breaking him from his hinges and carting him through the rest of the tower. Aww. After the wizard's death, the magic of the tower began to unravel, Dorr included. His eyelids drooped, his speech slurred, and all signs pointed to his end. By the time the party made their narrow escape, Dorr was just a mundane door with an innocent painted smile. To this day, Dorr serves as the front door to the party's base, awaiting the day when his friends are powerful enough to bring him to life once more. I ran an NPC that became beloved named Gren, a half-orc owner of Gren's General Goods. The players walk into the shop to find a mess of a shop filled with mislabeled goods and things no general shop owner should probably own. In one corner, a player found a fishbowl selling for 2 gold. Next to it was a diving helmet, just a fishbowl turned upside down, selling for 20 gold. Once checking out with their goods, Gren kept trying to convince them to get a Gren's General Goods membership card. As the campaign progressed, he kept finding weirder and weirder stuff to sell, usually for a loss. The players were fascinated and confused how this seemingly inept half-orc stayed in business, yet the shop kept growing larger as it went on. Why he was so successful was left unanswered by the end of the campaign, but he's become a beloved character and an occasional reference and cameo in future adventures. My players met a giant talking crab that I played like the whale from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. They named her Crabbina, and she is a party member now. They just really liked her and wanted to keep her, I guess. There wasn't any particular action. I had 2 specialized Modron clockwork NPCs. They were twins named 1F and 2F, i.e. first floor and second floor. They were caretakers and librarians for an ancient temple/library the players found while adventuring. I seriously thought that either the players would ignore them completely or kill them because they thought they were a threat. Instead, we spent an entire session befriending them, culminating in them joining the party as valets to the warlock scholar. I literally thought they would last maybe a 10-minute scene and had not even given them more than 30 seconds of thought in my notes. But I spent the entire 3 to 4 hour session winging it with these two. I didn't do squat for the players for these NPCs, and they latched onto a bad joke and ran with it. First floor and second floor lasted another 8 or 9 game sessions as beloved members of the party until they were killed in an ambush. Then the players mourned them, and we spent another 5 unplanned sessions returning their bodies to their own dimension/plane. Wilbur the Wizard. He's a very high-level wizard who doesn't quite have all his marbles. He has a ridiculous voice and travels in a cart with a bunch of bells and wind chimes. He's ridiculously smart, but most of the time he acts like he's a lot less mentally sound than he is, mostly to screw with people. He creates magic items, but they're all a little broken or problematic in some way or another, so the players have to decide if using them is worth the hassle. Could he create bomb-ass magic items that work perfectly all the time? Absolutely. Does he choose not to for the lulz and because he sometimes forgets important things? Yes. My players love him because he's so stinking ridiculous. Every time they hear the chimes, the PCs come running to see him. They have a long-standing joke that he's the big bad evil guy because he's the only one they trust completely. A problem in and of itself because he's the definition of chaotic neutral and lives to stir the pot. He's not, of course, because I have plans for him to show up in every campaign I ever run. Best part, Willard has a highly respectable wizard twin brother named William. The players hate William. I've had quite a few, but I think the standout will always be Buppido. For those familiar with Out of the Abyss, yes, it's that Buppido, except he is nothing like the Buppido there. He is a rambunctious Darrow who speaks with a gruff Russian accent, tells inappropriate jokes, and is generally useless. He does genuinely care for the party, but is a bit of a doofus and gets them in trouble, entirely by accident. He will always say the wrong thing if not stopped, and is less than useless in a fight. He considers all the party members to be idols, worthy of worship, and eventually met his end trying to protect the party's paladin in the final fight of the campaign. On the antagonist side, there were Asho and Akiishigul. Asho was an elven magic item saleswoman whose gods just happened to be mostly defunct. She swindled the party at level 4 and ended the campaign still at large. Another player used the campaign as a jumping off point for their own homebrew, and one of the party members is actively hunting her down there. She also speaks with a, French accent? How you say was her catchphrase and haunts the party's wizard nightmares to this day. Akiishigul. Oh boy. He's the demon lord of filth and cockroaches, and shocking, no one in a campaign about demon lords was a reoccurring antagonist. The party fought him in a Darrow ghetto and was one of the first times I felt satisfied with designing my own boss fight. The stat block comes from Kobold Press's Tome of Beasts, but the layout of the arena and the conditions of the fight were entirely my own making. He was also creepy as hell, as a giant demon cockroach should be. Later on, the party summoned him back into the world as they fought in Aboleth in a wild magic zone, but he fled at the time. They fought him again as they attempted to stop another demon lord's machinations and encountered him again briefly in the final fight. It was a joy to play up how unsettling and disturbing he was in both movement and actions. My group is in love with a charming family my 8-year-old invented as a way to play D&D with us on game night. There was Mrs. Poppyseed, a small human woman who the party encountered outside Baldur's Gate. She ran a little bakery, Mrs. Poppyseed's Bakery, and sent the party on their first side quest to find her husband, you guessed it, Mr. Poppyseed, who was out picking berries. They quickly found his tracks, which ended up stopping in the middle of a road. The party suspected he had been kidnapped and vowed to search for him. He turned up 50 miles away in an abandoned wizard school holding a basket of berries he went out to pick, and it turned out that he was cursed as a child to randomly teleport whenever he sneezed. He is allergic to berries and eats when he's nervous. Needless to say, he got nervous and blinked out of the school before the party could return him home. Fast forward about 10 sessions, and the party found Mr. Poppyseed once more in the care of an orc clan the party was getting ready to plan an attack on. They ended up helping the orcs' lost children and taking Mr. Poppyseed with them into Am. The first town they came to had another Mrs. Poppyseed's bakery. It turned out the bakery was an interdimensional bakery and has a basement full of planar gates that tie it to different cities throughout the plains. My daughter is now playing in the party as their daughter, Periwinkle Poppyseed, an Echo Knight with some ability to teleport and travel through time. TLDR. My 8-year-old created a family, Mr. and Mrs. Poppyseed, that runs an interdimensional bakery, and the party keeps running into them and are delighted every time they do. Berater, a rambunctious, goofy, loud, and confident black dragonborn who is frankly kind of an idiot. He was taken into slavery from a young age and only freed himself recently, stealing some elven plate armor and a great sword from his master's armory. He's an Echo Knight fighter. The only thing keeping him sane through the decades he spent in chains was the nightly conversations he had with his Echo, a manifestation of one of his ancestors. He's a total joker now that he's free, very friendly, loves to have fun. Every game I've ever placed him in, it inevitably leads to either one of the party members trying to romance him, or everyone sort of adopting this goofy dumbass and showing him the world. But he always ends up along for the ride in some way, shape, or fashion. I sometimes play him as a DMPC or as a PC in other people's games. Same story, mostly. He usually becomes a quick hit with the rest of the group for his confidence and quick, silly wit. Hey everyone, Brian Von VA here, checking in after the vid. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and to ring the bell so you can be notified whenever we go live or upload. To get your story in a video or read out on a stream, submit it on r/MrRipper alongside hundreds of other D&D fans just like you. Also check out our Discord and Twitch, both linked in the description below. Using a help action, you can always come check out me, Brian Von VA, as I stream games and make voice acting videos over on YouTube as well. Today, I want to end this with a bit of praise. I always read your comments and laugh or cry or just love the stories and characters you guys and gals come up with. You folk have an amazing sense of imagination, and I'm glad that everyone likes to share it with us, as it warms my heart to see you lot coming together under one roof. Never hide that imagination, alright? From your silliest character to your favorite story, share it, because someone out there is always going to love it. And I do, that's for damn sure. All the love, everybody. We'll see you next time.